Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel Held Dominance. Anthony here. Please remember to like and subscribe, and also click that notification bell if you're enjoying what you've seen and if you want to see more. Coming up in today's episode, well, it's quite simple. Highlights and match reports from the NRL and Super League for Friday the 11th of March. And we begin with the Super League highlights, reports and review of the three matches that play tonight. Well, the three games are the live Sky Sports game of St Helens versus Warrington Wolves, Salford Red Devils versus Hull KR, and Wakefield Trinity versus Toulouse. So we'll begin in reverse order with the 8 o'clock kickoff, which are St Helens playing host to Warrington Wolves. St Helens want to make it 5 wins out of 5, while Warrington want to, well, play a better game than what they did against Catalans in the last time out, as they were defeated, and quite easily, to be honest. St Helens come into the side without Conrad Hurrell, who drops out of the 17, while Mark Percival and Will Hapoate both start at the centres. Josh Sims comes back into the side in place of Hurrell, while Lomax and Dodd continue at halfbacks. In the forward line, there is no change with Walmsley, Roby and Lees. Matautia, Batchelor and Knowles complete the forward pack. On the bench, it is the same. Well, one change from the last match, as Carly Moore drops out of the bench and Curtis Sorinen comes back in to the 17. For the Warrington side, first of all, Josh Charnley with his 2-match suspension. All comments below, please. He's replaced by Josh Foulis on the right wing. Peter Matalchia comes into facing his brother for his new club, as he did do in the previous rounds. But looking at the starting lineup for Warrington, the only real change is at dummy half, as Darryl Clark gets bumped back to the starting lineup, while Danny Walker is moved back to the bench. Otherwise, the only change on the bench seems to be Jason Clark for Davis, in one of only 3 changes to the Warrington side that was beaten 18 points to 24 at home against Catalans. Now we go on to the second game that was played, as it's second on the order that we're going to go through, and it kicks off at 7:45, where we see Salford Red Devils play the Hull KR in this game of 2 teams that have started Super League indifferently. Salford got the 2 wins in their opening 2 games, but have since lost 2 games in succession from the 4 games that were played, while Hull KR have only got 1 win from their 3 games, and we'll have to see how these 2 teams get along in our highlights now. So we go into the first half, and it's a bit fractious, a bit bitty between the 2 local rivals, and it's not until the 14th minute where we see the first points, and it was Stefan Ratchford who had got a penalty for Saints being offside, and he knocked over the 2. Ratchford is also celebrating his 400th career appearance in rugby league. Congratulations to him. Not long after this, Saints are on the back foot again, as George Williams puts in a kick behind the line, but Sione Matautia catches him late, and he is being told to sit down for 10 minutes as the yellow card is waved. We get to the 21st minute, and Warrington are pinged for offside 35 metres from their own goal line. Saints, realising that they are down to 12 men, and it's the way that the game is at the moment as it's so tight, they elect to go for 2, and Tommy Makinson adds the 2, and we're all square again, with more than a quarter gone in the first half. We come to about the 23rd minute of the game, and Warrington are pinged for the 4th offside in a row. Well, 4th offside of the game. That brings up 7 offsides in total, and the referee decides to send in the player who was offside, and that was George Williams, and he has to go sit down for 10 minutes also. This gives Saints fresh impetus, and they're deep in Warrington's half. Lewis Dodd is tackled close towards the line, and Roby passes it out to Lomax, who's rushed by Widdop, and he kicks for the corner, and Jack Wellesby dives on the ball. There was a hint of obstruction, but there was no man interfered with. So, Saints were given a try after checking with the video referee. So Wellesby gets a try, and Tommy Makinson nails the sideline conversion for the 8-2 lead to St Helens. At this point, Sione Metatia returns from his sit down, and Saints are back up to 13. Still, while George Williams is in the bin, Saints score again, and it's a great bit of vision from Lewis Dodd. After the tackle was complete, the ball went to Lomax, who went to Dodd, who stepped off his right foot and went back to where the defensive play was light, and Percival in the tackle passes it off to Makinson for the second try of the game. Makinson added the conversion, and George Williams came back on a couple of minutes later. He missed the conversion for 12-2, and after Williams came back on, the scoring actually stopped. Less penalties, less stopping, but Saints had got noses in front, so they were controlling the game. But this meant that Saints went in at half-time, 12-2 in the lead. So we're going to the second half, and it's Saints that open the try scoring, as it's Tommy Makinson in the corner for another try. After a couple of slow tackles in the Warrington 10, they decide to throw the ball left, and Dodd and Wellesby pass the ball out to Tommy Makinson, who dives over in the corner for a 16-2 scoreline. Makinson misses the 2, but Saints have got the first score of the half, so they've got all that going for them. Saints have started to turn the screw on Warrington as they have a scrum deep in the Warrington half, and it's a decent play as they dummy to go right and go left instead, and Mark Percival stands up Peter Metatia to go through the gap and score in the corner. Have a look at it again. Just stands him up quite easily. Lewis Dodd takes over the kicking and adds the extras for 22-2. Then off a little mistake by Warrington, passing to Joe Bullock's head, Johnny Lomax finishes off the scoring. Look at it, bang off his head, straight into Lomax's hands, who finishes the match off. And with Dodd adding the extras, it's 28-2. An impressive display by Saints, who nilled their local rivals during the second half and didn't concede a try. So it's going on to our second game, as it's a running order. We are going to look into the highlights of Salford Red Devils versus Hull KR. The two teams have started in different form, with Salford 2 wins from their 4 games, while Hull KR have only won 1 of the 4 games so far. So, let's go on to the teams and see how they both line up. So there were 3 changes for Salford, as first of all Tim Lifey comes back in for Costello, while Sitaleki Akawala comes in for Greg Burke at prop. And in the second row, James Greenwood returns instead of the suspended Ryan Lannon. On the bench is where we see Ryan Lannon, not suspended, alongside Elijah Taylor and Jack Ormonrod, but Akawala's place has been taken on the bench by Alex Gerrard, while Greg Burke drops out completely, as does Costello. Now for Hull KR. Lachlan Coote doesn't make the side, unfortunately, and is not on the bench either. due to injury against his former club St Helens, so Will Dagger returns to the starting lineup. Sean Kenny Dow partners Jimmy Kindhorse in the centres due to the stepping down of Brad Takarangi. It's all changing the forwards as Albert Vete drops to the bench and his place is taken by the returning Tom Garrett, who partners George King, who returns to the forwards as well. As Dean Hadley drops down to the bench for King to take his place in the forwards, Frankie Holton finds his place in the second row. Kane Lynette returns to the side as well after missing out against St Helens, and Elliot Mernicella gets promoted from the bench. Matty Staunton is replaced by Elliot Mernicella, and Staunton finds his way onto the bench, while Dean Hadley is also on the bench with Jez Litton. That means no place for Corbin Sims in the 17. So let's get into the highlights for the full game. So Hull KR are deep in Salford's territory and stretching his arm over the line as he was almost held up. Elliot Minchella scores on the 14th minute, which Jordan Abdul converts. That's the try, actually. Number 17 just seeing the Salford fumble by Sneed and gets on the end for the first try. Salford tried to hit back, but unfortunately the kick is unsuccessful this time as Ryan Hall bats it back. But Salford hold up Albert Vete on the for an attempt, but Mikey Lewis finds Staunton to score the second try of the game on the 31st minute. Then Salford are reduced down to 10 men as Ryan Lannon, for the second game running, is penalised for holding down the man. Then Abdul to Mikey Lewis, who kicks and chases the ball for himself for Hull KR to extend their lead. All the conversions are successful for Jordan Abdul, and it's 18 points to 0 at half time. But then Salford have a scrum play and they go right to find Ken Seo, and their leading try scorer goes in the corner. Sneed adds the extras and it's 18 points to 6. Salford come roaring back once more as a great dummy half run by Andy Ackers sets up the play, and Sneed kicks for the corner, and Salford number 11 Shane Wright scores left of the posts to make it 12 points to 18. And then an interception by Mark Sneed finds him sprinting almost 3/4 of the length of the field. He's getting covered by Ryan Hall, and then a slip as he goes over the line sees Joe Burgess score the third try for Salford. So this kick is missed and it's 16 points to 18. Now Jordan Abdul's bomb sees Mikey Lewis chase after the ball on the 68th minute, and after he's supporting the man, he goes in under the posts for another Hull KR try, and 2 points are added by Abdul for and a penalty to make it 26 points to 16 to Hull KR. An impressive performance from Hull KR, which sees them tie up the points for tally with Salford as they go on to 2 wins from 5 games. And the last Super League game that we're going to have a quick look at is the Trinity versus Toulouse game, as both sides come into this without a victory to their name yet for the 2022 season, and both teams are on different trajectories over the last couple of games, as Wakefield didn't do too well against Leeds and Toulouse were getting more and more momentum in pushing Wigan right to the brink in the 28-29 result at home. Now they're on the travels in Wakefield, and this is who they've picked for the game. First of all, Wakefield, as Morgan Escaray signed on for a 2-week loan, as Max Jowett misses out of the starting lineup for Wakefield Trinity. Liam Kay starts on the wing in place of Murphy, who came into the side against Leeds and had an indifferent game, shall we say that. Corey Hall and Reece Lynn are back as centres for the replacement of Jay Pitts and Joe Batchelor, while Tom Johnson is on the right wing. Brad Walker continues in the halves with Mason Lino Walker in place of Miller, who was injured in the last game. David Fafita starts instead of being on the bench, with Liam Hood returning to the starting lineup. Tinoro Arona continues in the forwards as well, as Jay Pitts now moves to the second row instead of Tanganoa, and James Batchelor starts at loose forward instead of James Crowther. On the bench, Eddie Batty continues his place on the bench, with Jay Whitbread returning, as well as Harry Bowes taking his place on the bench instead of the returning Liam Hood. Kelepi Tanganoa is the last person on the bench. Now for Toulouse. In the backs and the halves, there is no changes to the team that took Wigan to the brink, while Joe Breverton is one of the people that stays on the forwards, as is Elwar Polissier. Harrison Hansen makes a return to the starting lineup, and he is joined in as well by Andrew Dixon, who missed out in the game against Wigan. It's the bench where the most changes have come through, as Dominic Peru is returned to the bench, Maxime Puech is there as well, and there's two from last week that stay on the bench with Justin Sangare and Ellis Robson. Okay, so now let's go on to the full game highlights for the two sides. And first of all, it is Liam Hood who gets the first try of the game for Wakefield, as he bundles his over from close range for the try. Brad Walker is on kicking duty for Wakefield, and he made no mistake with the conversion to make it 6-0. But come back Toulouse did, and as they run through the hands, Ollie Ashall-Bott makes the gap for Guy Armitage to get his third try in 3 games to make it 6-4. Chris Hankinson's attempt unfortunately goes wide of the mark, but he didn't have to wait long for an attempt of another kick, as a penalty gives them the opportunity from straight in front, 30 yards out or so, and they did take it for 6-all. But Wakefield themselves get a penalty stroke at half time and to make it 8-4. Then in the second half, Tanganoa barges his way through for the first try of the second half to make it 12-6. And Walker was successful again with a kick to make it 14-6. But then Wakefield won it, as Mason Lino delayed the pass out wide to Walker, who passed to Tom Johnson, who was being bundled out, but what a pass back inside for Corey Hall to score the final try of the game. Walker made no mistake from the touchline. Oh, sorry, he did make the mistake, but it was Wakefield's night, as they won their first game of the season against their bottom place rivals, as on their 5th attempt, Toulouse were beaten by Trinity 18-6. So Friday also saw 2 NRL games. First, Canberra Raiders versus Cronulla Sharks, and we're going to give you the full report on that. as Canberra stunned the Cronulla Sharks in the dying seconds with a late Hudson Young try, which has netted the Canberra Raiders a 24 points to 19 win to start their NRL season in a wild encounter with Cronulla. Matt Molloy had put the Sharks in the lead by putting over a drop goal to make the scores 19 points to 18 with 6 minutes to play, but when the contest looked like it was slipping away, Young burst through multiple Sharks defenders in the 76th minute to find the match-winning try on Friday night at Geo Stadium. Having locked things up at 18 points to 18 on the 54th minute, Cronulla looked to have stolen the points after dominating the second half via 5/8 Molloy, who struck the perfect drop goal for a 1-point advantage. The Sharks then came within inches of a last-minute try, but Matt Ikivalu was judged to have been held up as he lunged for the line. The win is Canberra's 7th straight victory against Cronulla. The home side started brightly and forced 4 repeat sets, and Semi Viliame had the first chance but lost the ball reaching for the line. Jack Whiten got things started on the 9th minute, starting a break with a beautiful pickup and effectively a 1-2 with Nick Kotrick to score. The Raiders surged to 12-0 in the 17th minute with the powerful Corey Hawera-Nara putting the Raiders ahead after bouncing off defenders and picking a pass for Viliame to lunge over the line. Corey Hawera-Nara only signed for the Raiders in the last 24 hours, just in time to be registered for the game. The Sharks had their acting halfback Blake Briley to thank to getting on the board after he dummied following a scrum win and broke through the Raiders' line to score. Canberra though had ran for 400 metres in the first half and controlled the contest with 65% possession, and only found the points their domination merited on the stroke of half-time when Tom Starling bounced off Grubber bounced for the sharp hands of Charnsey Nickel Klogstad to score and restore the 12 points advantage and a half-time scoreline of 18 points to 6 to the Raiders. After coming out of the sheds desperately needing a lift, the Sharks looked to start the second half well and were denied a Sione Katoa try by a Kotrick strip, but they weren't denied moments later as Will Kennedy would score on the 50th minute, and the scoreline was extended by a successful conversion to 18 points to 12. The Sharks would level minutes later as Teague Wilton is the beneficiary of a delightful ball from star recruit Nico Hines, who then slotted the conversion from the sideline. Cronulla controlled the second half with Hines instrumental, but couldn't make their dominance count, with a number of errors in attacking position costing them the win. Raiders' Josh Hodgson left the field with the 7th minute holding his outside of his right knee and failed to return for the rest of the half. But then we was left with the late show where Matt Mullen kicked the drop goal with 6 minutes remaining, and Hudson Young winning it for Canberra Raiders. The second game on Friday in the NRL was the Brisbane Broncos versus the South Sydney Rabbitohs, and it was a close, tense affair as the Brisbane Broncos got the win over the Rabbitohs, as the Rabbitohs are still adjusting to life under Jason Demetriou after an indifferent set of trial games, shall we say. But Brisbane come out with a win as a rejuvenated Pat Corrigan and an opportunistic Kurt Capewell shot Brisbane to end to a season-opening 11 points to 4 win over a disappointing South Sydney at Lang Park. In Brisbane, the Broncos triumphed despite the absence of their star recruit and former Rabbitohs captain Adam Reynolds due to COVID-19. The hosts led 6 points to 4 at half-time before Corey Oates did a diving effort in the corner in the 50th minute to create a buffer ahead of captain and back rower Kurt Capewell. Souths came roaring back as they found the ball out wide to Josh Mansour, who scored in the corner after a great handling display. Broncos then scored through Corey Oates, who dived over in the corner spectacularly for the Broncos win. Back from an ACL tear, Pat Corrigan ran 145 metres, showing extra pace and footwork and an offload to complete his proven work great to set the platform alongside Payne Haas, who was fantastic throughout the game and ran 168 metres for the Broncos. 19-year-old winger Selwyn Cobbo was electric down the right wing, while Capewell, who moved to the Broncos after winning last year's premiership with Penrith, steadied the defence of the side who has struggled to protect their own line over the last 2 seasons. The Rabbitohs, however, who had lost the grand final in their last trip to Brisbane, were poor as they began life without Reynolds, Dane Gagai and coach Wayne Bennett. Reynolds' replacement Lachlan Elias struggled to have an impact, barely running the ball in the first half and watching passes hit the deck or finding Brisbane hands in the second. 5'8" Cody Walker threw the interception for Kelly's try, and the Rabbitohs' usually incisive edges could not penetrate despite many opportunities to score. And that's it for another episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and also share this video worldwide with anyone that you can to grow the game of our rugby league. So tell me what your thoughts are of today's games. Rabbitohs did look clunky, and that word was being used throughout the match, wasn't it? Ugh. I don't know what's more disappointing, the way that the Rabbitohs played, or their left-hand edge being so ineffective. It's like they've completely changed everything and became an average team. Anyway, so wins for Saints, very, very good. I don't think Warrington was as bad as what everyone said. I think it was more of the fact that Saints weren't giving their team, their opponents, anything. They had to bite, claw, snap, grab anything that came their way, and they couldn't do it. So, Saints won, and won comfortably in the end, nailing the tries against Warrington to 0. Salford, 2 wins from 5, guessing beat off Hull KR. They're the sort of teams that they should be looking to beat, Salford, unfortunately, and they weren't able to do so. They showed a bit of heart, getting 16 points, unanswered points, after half time, but Hull KR put their foot on the gas a bit more and took over proceedings. Toulouse, it's a game that they should have been looking to win, but weren't able to do so. Wakefield get their first points on the board. Wakefield beating one of their relegation rivals, it looks like, at this early stage in the season. But hey, do. And the final one, the Raiders. Last gasp, but all wins are wins. If they can start churning out those sort of results where they don't give up to the end, rather than half a match performance like last year, they could be in with a shout of the semi-finals of the playoffs. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to share this video worldwide. But in the meantime, please stay safe, all the best, and I'll see you in the next episode.